On Business Incorporated today. South Africa's Business Confidence Index down to 91 points in September. IMF board reaffirms full confidence in Kristalina Georgieva. Ethiopia Airlines resumes services to Enugu in Nigeria. Hello and welcome to the program. I'm Ini John Mekwa. Well, let's start with the markets as usual. We'll begin with intraday numbers from major equity markets in Africa, where investor sentiments were mostly positive. Nigeria's main index traded higher at intraday, pairing losses made in yesterday's session, while South Africa's JSE was down 0.53%. Egypt's EGX30 was up at intraday. Its index rose 0.52%, while Nairobi Stock Exchange closed yesterday's trading session negative. We move over to the Middle East now, where major markets were all in the green at intraday. Abu Dhabi index inched higher by 0.08%, while Dubai's index rose 0.35%. Elsewhere in the region, Saudi Arabia and Qatar indexes were up 0.34% and 0.2%, respectively. European stocks slid into negative territory today amid gloomy sentiment in global markets. Well, we'll have details of that with Christy joining us from Frankfurt. Hello, Christy. Good afternoon.
Hello. Hi. Fine, thanks.
Yeah. So high gas prices have pushed European industry players to start cutting their demand for natural gas, with companies slowing or closing operations. What's the outlook for Europe's pandemic recovery with all of this?
Yes, well, these high energy prices pose a couple different issues for Europe's economic recovery. The first is, as you just mentioned, the fact that these high prices are pushing some manufacturers to actually slow production. It's just too expensive for them to continue producing at their normal rate. What this means is they'll be producing fewer products, making fewer profits, and with fewer products on the market, we're also likely to see an increase in consumer prices there, which leads me to my second point about all of this, which is, of course, inflation. This has been an issue on everyone's mind already for several weeks now, months even, as supply chain bottlenecks around the globe have pushed consumer prices up in many, many parts of the world. Now, traditionally high oil prices are linked to rising consumer prices, so this is just another concern as well. So some companies have said that even with passing the costs on to consumers, they don't know if they'll make it through the end of the year, and of course all of this will weigh on Europe's economic outlook going into the colder months.
Well, certainly the world is not going through very bright times these days. But German airline Lufthansa has paid back $1.7 billion to the German government, and that's part of a massive bailout package the company received after the pandemic brought most air travel to a halt. The airline is paying the money back faster than expected. Is this a sign of a quick recovery for Europe's airline sector?
Yeah, good question. So maybe a bit of context here. What we're dealing with is last year, Lufthansa received 9 billion euros as a bailout from the German government as the pandemic hit. Now, by paying this money back, it will free the company up from certain restrictions they were under and will also help them avoid paying hefty penalty fees. So a few weeks ago, we talked about the fact that Lufthansa raised some of this money to pay back their debts by offering discounted shares of Lufthansa stock. So that was maybe a good moment for many people to get their hands on some stock that normally performs quite well in normal contexts. So the CEO of Lufthansa said that with more and more companies opening their borders, the outlooks are bright for their company, also for the airline industry. Now, that being said, there's already the next hurdle on the horizon for airliners, and this is, of course, tackling the problem of carbon emissions. This is an issue for many industries, for the car industry, manufacturers, and it's, of course, the same for airliners. And so even though things might be getting brighter on the pandemic side, there's already the next issue to be handled.
Well, this new study certainly is not making it look brighter, because it says that consumers have been warned that Christmas presents could be higher for the winter season. So it's not looking very bright at all from this perspective.
No, that's right. What we heard is from the Germany's IFO Institute of Economic Research is they basically, warned consumers that according to their survey, consumers are likely to see higher prices and also longer delivery times this winter, particularly around the Christmas season, which we all know is a big shopping season. Basically, they surveyed retailers, and 3 in 4 retailers said that in September they had delivery issues, and 100% of those surveyed said they had some sort of issue with orders. So this is really not very optimistic in terms of getting consumer products delivered. So yes, between inflation, between also the high cost of lumber we saw earlier this year, which is showing up in consumer prices, and also the ongoing chip shortage, particularly if you're interested in buying electronics this winter, it's certainly a sign that it's going to be harder or at least more costly for consumers to get their hands on goods. So anyone looking to shop as we get towards the colder months should certainly think about taking a bit more time to do so.
Well, I certainly hope this Christmas won't be too bad for us because it doesn't look good from a lot of fronts. Well, thank you so much, Christy, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you.
So we talked about something similar to this in the morning with Juliana, talking about the UK. Well, this afternoon, let's talk about something else. Nvidia is in the news, and Juliana joins us now to give us update on EU investigating Nvidia and all that. Hello, Juliana. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Ine.
So the EU is set to investigate Nvidia's $54 billion bid for ARM, and competition concerns is at the heart of this. What's this about?
Yeah, this is the second setback for Nvidia. They are massive artificial intelligence chip maker in America. They have been attempting to buy ARM, which is a British-based semiconductor chip maker and arguably Britain's most important technology firm, from the Japanese-owned SoftBank, who bought the firm a couple of years ago, but most importantly kept its structure intact and kept it headquartered in Cambridge. Now, the UK Competition and Market Authority, as well as the British government, have been looking at this potential purchase. In fact, the actual founder of ARM is desperate for Britain not to allow the sale to go ahead, because they do fear that there would then be a monopoly on this really important sector, which has only become even more important during the COVID-19 pandemic. As you just discussed in Frankfurt, there is a shortage of semiconductor chips at the moment. Well, fast forward to this period, and the EU have got involved. Antitrust regulators have asked Nvidia to put forward some proposals to make sure they adhere to competition rules. I believe this was done a few days ago, but they've said it's just not good enough, that they need to provide more evidence. So according to sources, this is going to be taking place over the next 3 or 4 months. The alternative really would be for ARM to go public, to float on a stock exchange, which is potentially going to happen because it's such a sensitive area that no country is willing to allow America to have a monopoly on this.
And, well, talking about semiconductors, that has been an issue. Now there's Brexit rules, there's high energy prices, and all of this is disturbing UK car makers' competitiveness.
Well, yeah, that's according to the Society of Motor Manufacturers and Traders. They've been conducting a survey looking at the industry and speaking to bosses within it. And 9 out of 10 of those that they surveyed said, you know, things have got much tougher after Brexit, that it's, you know, it starts with teething problems and issues at the borders going way forward to massive, substantial issues. Now, cars are Britain's biggest export. We were discussing, I believe, just last week, the fact that September sales were down. It was the lowest September in years and years, and that's really because of as we were saying, the semiconductor chip shortage, which has shut down processing plants across the country, but also the costs are very, very, very difficult at the moment. We have also been looking at UK energy prices in this country. Lots of focus have been on the consumer, but now government interest has shifted to big business because they heavily rely on energy. There are some that spend about £40 million per year on energy costs. This could rise to 100 million. So like others, the Society of Motor Manufacturing and Traders are asking the government to step in to put a cap on energy prices just so the industry can survive, particularly because it's been so battered by the Brexit fallout.
All right, and how's the market trading at this time?
Not great. The FTSE is very much in the red at intraday, though the pound is continuing on its rally over sentiment from the central bank that perhaps there could be a rise in interest rates. So that's very unlikely to happen this year. The FTSE all-share INI is down 0.29%. The FTSE 100 also down by 0.30%. And the FTSE 250, that domestic market, down too at 0.15%. In currencies, as I was saying, the British pound riding high up against the US dollar by 0.12%, also up on the euro by 0.09%, and up on the Japanese yen at intraday by 0.06% INI.
Thank you so much, Juliana. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you.
Well, Nigeria accounts for 1.24% of global importation of sardines. Ironically, tinned fish in sauce or sardine is number 10 on the 41 items that have been restricted from access to foreign exchange. So how come Nigeria is still on the list of countries importing sardine? Well, we have Lawrence Mercy of the Financial Derivatives Company telling us sharing his thoughts with us on this and a whole lot more. Hello, Lawrence. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
So I think the first thing that will come to mind is if sardines are on the list of restricted, the commodities restricted from accessing FX, then how come it's still being imported into the country?
Well, currently, the restriction of FX does not outrightly mean that there is a ban on importation. Rather, it just means that there is restriction to access to foreign exchange from official channels. So rather, what importers would do would be to source for foreign exchange from the parallel markets. And this is why there's still a lot of importation, because Titus sardine seems to be the #1 destination. Nigeria seems to be the #1 destination in Africa for Titus sardine. So regardless of the higher cost of acquiring forex, it's still a viable business opportunity for importers, and that's why that statistic still remains as significant as it is.
And I guess that difficulty or extra expenses in acquiring FX to import it can also be attributed to the 100% increase in price in 3 months from 300 to 600 naira.
Yes, of course. The continued depreciation of the naira that we've seen over the last couple months is going to be highly transferred to higher prices, which consumers will bear a majority of the brunt of. And we've seen the naira depreciate from about 490 to 560 as per the parallel market rates. And this largely accounts for the increased cost of importing materials, along with port charges and tariffs, which has now resulted in this 100% increase from 300 naira to 600 naira in the price of sardines.
And underlying its marketability and revenue potential, what can Nigeria do to capitalize on its sardine production and this high taste and demand for it to compete globally with the likes of Morocco?
There would be about 3 subheadings in a proposed approach to make Nigeria more competitive. The first would be regulations. Regulations around standard practices in aquaculture and fishery. This is to ensure that there are sustainable practices being carried out in the process of fishing for sardines, now to ensure that there is no pollution and that there is no risk of extinction or depreciation of the sardines in Nigeria's existing water bodies. The next step would be investment incentivization, and this would come in the form of access to credit facilities especially for aquaculture specialists and manufacturers of proposed canned dishes like sardine or geisha and whatnot. So lower interest rates and access to credit will enable them expand and get more assets such as boats for fishing, and would enable them to train more staff. And then the last leg of this strategy would be capacity maximization and increased training of staff. This is to ensure that there is standardized practice in processing of fish, and also to ensure that standard measures of quality are imposed on sardines that are being manufactured. So these three steps along the strategy would enable Nigeria become much more competitive in its sardine production process, and make it more viable for exportation and competitive with global counterparts.
Well, another potential that Nigeria has, and hopefully we will explore that potential to boost our revenue. Thank you so much, Lawrence Mercy, research analyst with Financial Derivatives Company, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you.
So we move to South Africa now, where the Business Confidence Index, that's the BCI, fell to 91 points in September and went from 91.9 in August, after registering the highest level so far this year of 97 points in May. The fall has been attributed to a decline in retail sales, manufacturing output, energy and water supply concerns, and higher fuel prices. Despite the fall in business confidence, there were positive contributions from export volumes, a stronger rand exchange rate, and an increased number of new vehicles sold. Meanwhile, South Africa's cement companies now have a boost after the government banned import of building materials for use on state-awarded contracts. Bidders for state projects will only have their offers considered if they agree to source all cement from local companies, and that's according to a directive circulated by the National Treasury to other government departments. The order also applies to raw materials used in production. The Executive Board of the International Monetary Fund has reaffirmed its full confidence in the Managing Director's leadership and ability to continue to effectively carry out her duties. This is after the review of information presented that demonstrate that the Managing Director, Kristalina Georgieva, played an improper role regarding the Doing Business 2018 report when she was CEO of the World Bank. The board says it trusts in the Managing Director's commitment to maintaining the highest standards of governance and integrity in the IMF. Ethiopian Airlines Group, the largest Pan-African airline, has resumed weekly passenger services to Enugu State in Nigeria. The flights are operated on Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday. Ethiopia is one of the oldest carriers flying to Nigeria and has been serving the country since 1960, threatening trade, cultural, and tourism ties between Nigeria and the rest of the world. Passengers from Enugu will have direct flight connections to many destinations in Africa, Middle East, Asia, South America, and Europe, with a vast Ethiopian network and modern fleets, and enjoy unique Ethiopian hospitality. Ethiopian became the first international carrier to fly to Enugu when it commenced flight in 2013. In Kenya, 3-year-old company Cocoa is using ATMs to dispense ethanol derived from agricultural waste. Its makers say the practice is safer and better for the environment and much more cost-effective. Let's see how it works.
Large blue ATMs have been popping up across Nairobi, but they are not dispensing cash. Instead, they give out clean energy. The locally produced ethanol is both good for the environment and safer to use than traditional wood or kerosene, says Michael Wakoli, head of fuel operations at 3-year-old company Cocoa.
I am using the waste of the product that was used to make sugar and molasses and so on to create something that I can still reutilize it again and recycle it. So all in a way to try and also meet up with the climatic requirements we have now, the climate conditions now. We've known we have destroyed quite a bit of our forest coverage and so on and so forth.
Ethanol from agricultural waste is a greener alternative to using charcoal made from cutting down trees. United Nations Environmental Programme also says sugarcane bioethanol can reduce emissions by 40% to 62% compared to petroleum-derived fuels. But for Faith Mora, one of cocoa's around 200,000 customers, it's also about costs. A liter of kerosene in Nairobi costs just under 111 shillings, or approximately $1. But Cocoa sells a liter of his biofuel for just under 78 shillings, and the dispensers allow customers to fill up with smaller amounts using mobile money services.
Sana. It has really helped me because cooking gas costs me 1,000 Kenya shillings to refill. Sana. But with Cocoa, I can get even 100 shillings worth of fuel.
Kenya has given ethanol producers like Cocoa who use sugar processing waste an exemption from its 16% VAT. But that's to encourage ethanol production to grow in tandem with the sugar industry, one of Kenya's common crops. Cocoa plans to expand to 10 other Kenyan towns in the near future, and the potential market is huge.
Talking about making cleaner energy available to the rural dwellers and people in the lower strata of income. That's what Cocoa is trying to do in Kenya there. Well, that's it on the program today. Thank you so much for being a part of it. I'm Ini John Mekwa.